Welcome back to another episode of Evolve and Prosper, where we bring you real stories of real pain, whether that be addiction, mental health, or just overall challenges that life may throw at us, and we don't really know how to handle them. We're aiming to bring you different perspectives on how to heal and how to overcome these challenges and how to evolve as a human, and we're all on the search of peace and prosperity. And today we got another great individual here, another great human, Marissa, here to talk with us today. And how are you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah,
how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank
Good.
you. Thank you for coming out.
Of course.
She has an awesome story of overcoming addiction. She almost has 10 years, 10 years clean. And she did that without a program. And I feel like that is really powerful, and a lot of people need to hear that, because sometimes we just get stuck that we have to do it a certain way. So I'm looking forward to hearing your story. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your addiction and what was your drug of choice and kind of how long that went on for?
Oh boy. So my addiction started in 2009. I was pregnant with my oldest son, and I was having early contractions, and so the doctor put me on Percocet. So I started, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was just like the lowest dose you could get. I think they were like 5s or something. So I was on those, and then I started hanging out with someone that was close with my family. So by this time, all my other siblings and my mom were active in their addiction.
Yeah. I don't mean to cut you off,
no,
but
you're good. For
like full circle or transparency, your brother Kyle was on the show just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of his story about the childhood, I won't repeat, because we grew up together.
Yeah.
I think me and him grew up different than the other 3 kids, so our stories are a lot different than theirs.
Yeah.
But so I started hanging out with someone that was, my family ran around with, and he introduced me to Roxy's. And when I did I loved the downer feeling. I don't know. It was so weird, because I'm like, who likes to not have control of themselves? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I think I also, as weird as this is going to sound, I was addicted to snorting it, to the feeling of snorting it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that played a huge role in it. And so I was 6 months pregnant, and I started doing Roxy's. And one night I was laying in bed, and I was just tossing and turning. My legs hurt. I was like hot, and then I was cold, and I was like, what is happening with me right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? And I got in my mom's purse, and she was on methadone at the time. And so I took one of her methadones, and as soon as I took it, I was fine. I felt fine. And that's when I knew that, I had just opened Pandora's box.
Yeah. It's crazy with opiates, because you don't think you get addicted like that until, like you just said, one day you wake up and you're just sick and you don't know what to do.
Well, and you try all these different things to try to figure out why you're sick. You take cold medicine, you try to take a hot shower, a hot bath, and then you take an opiate, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sorry, excuse my language.
No, you're good.
Okay. So I knew at that point, I was like, what am I doing? What, you know what I mean? So but I didn't I didn't stop. I continued going. And then I had my son. So I was about 6 months pregnant when I got into the pills.
Yeah.
I didn't dip all 10 toes in until after I gave birth.
Yeah.
But then after that, obviously after you have a baby, you get prescribed pain pills, So after I had my son, they had tested his umbilical cord, and they called the state on me, and they were like, he tested positive for this. And I was what do you mean? What are you talking about? And so GCFS came to the hospital. They interviewed me, and they looked at my son, and then they realized that I was prescribed what he tested positive for. And they were like, oh shit, this is all bad. This never should have happened.
Yeah. What they think about that?
Yeah. I don't know, because they ran. They were out. As soon as they realized that I had a prescription for it, they were ghost. And I think that they knew that they messed up when they were accusing me of using illicit drugs while I was pregnant. And I was like, what do you mean? These I have a prescription for this. And so and you would think that that would scare me, but it didn't. So I went home and I took the pain pills I was prescribed, but I was obviously taking more on the side as well. And I just went for it.
Yeah.
I went for it. I didn't even walk into it slowly. It's like, when I do something, I do it with everything I am. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what it is, good, bad, ugly, pretty. I go all in. So I got to the point where I was probably doing 25 to 30 pills a day.
Wow.
I started selling for the dude that I was getting my pills from, and I ran amok for a hot minute. You know, I have this baby at home, and I'm out here just running amok. You know, that took precedence over being a mom, obviously.
It's crazy how that works.
Yeah, like looking back now, it is crazy, because like seeing the person I am today, never in a million years would I imagine letting something take over being a mom.
Yeah,
you know?
And it's like, and it's a substance, like it's
right.
I don't know, like, you know what I'm trying to say, but
no,
like, it's just crazy to think. And once you break out of it, you're like, man, like I could never envision myself doing
right.
that. Yeah.
Well, and it's like, honestly, it's like the smallest thing to let take so much control. You know what I mean? Because if you think about it, a pill's not that big.
No.
You're paying all this money for something that's like, you know, smaller than your pinky now. So
it's like destroying you while making you feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I mean, I don't know if Kyle touched on us getting put in state's custody when we were kids.
Yeah, he did.
So my mom left me here in Utah in a foster home and moved to Washington. Kyle ended up going to his dad's. So I grew up in state's custody. I was in it for 6.5 years. I aged out. And then when I got out, my mom's was the only place I had to go. And she was already balls to the wall deep.
Dealing
you know,
with her own
she
shit.
was, she was, so I didn't really have much of a chance. Like, I could draw pictures of her crack pipe at the age of 12. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, we didn't have much of a chance growing up. So I got into the pills, and then the state got involved, like really involved this time.
Mm-hmm.
They put my son in foster care, and I had 2 kids by this time. I had my youngest exactly 1.5 years after my oldest. And so I got clean. I did a program. It's called First. It's down in Salt Lake. It's Families in Recovery Staying Together. I did this program, and that was in 2011. I did everything right. I completed the program. I got my son back. They closed my case successfully. I was back with my youngest son. Me and his dad got back together. Mm-hmm. So I thought life was grand. It was so great, you know?
Yeah.
And probably the beginning of 2014, I started to hate life. I was super isolated. My son's dad, I didn't have much to do with my family.
Yeah.
His mom hated my guts, so she treated me and my oldest son like outcasts. My youngest son obviously got treated differently because he was his dad's child. And I had no friends. I didn't I enrolled to get my GED, and like if I did brush my hair different, my son's dad would be like, "Oh, you must have a boyfriend. I've never seen you do your hair like that." You know?
Shit, yeah.
So I found a guy that sold pills. So I started buying pills from him, and it got to the point that I was leaving my kids home alone, running down the street getting pills and coming back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that went on for a few months, and then one day, my son's dad just got this feeling, I guess, that I was using, and he went and searched my car, and he found my rolled up dollar bills and my little baggie of pills,
mm-hmm.
and he called the cops on me. So I hurried up and hid the pills, acted like I didn't have them, you know. I ended up leaving him that day, and I was looking, this was in August of 2014, so I had like a little less than 3 years clean at this time. Mm-hmm. And I was looking for Percocet. Well, my mom was into heroin at the time. And for like 3 days, she's like, "No, man, you don't want the pills. They're expensive. They don't last as long. They're not as good. Like, you should just get heroin. It's cheaper. It lasts longer, and it's easier to find. Like, come on, man, you know." And it took her like 3 days of trying to get me to do it. And so finally I caved, obviously, you know, and went straight to just doing heroin. And then it wasn't long after that she introduced me to the needles. And so I started doing that. And my youngest son, I left him with his dad. I had my oldest son. And then in want to say it was probably November of 2014. The state got involved again with my oldest son, and he got put back in foster care. And so at this time he was 4. Poor kid, he was a mess. He didn't understand anything.
Yeah.
So I was running amok for a little while, and then I was homeless. I didn't have my kid. I didn't have a job. I didn't have my car. And I got stranded at a Walmart. And I kept trying to call for someone to come pick me up. This guy was in line behind me in customer service, and he's like, I can give you a ride. I have a phone you can use, you know. Am I down now? So I was like, great, you know, perfect. Well, I couldn't find anywhere to go.
Yeah.
So he was like, here, you just come back to my place so you can figure out what your next move is or whatever. And I was like, man, that's really nice of you.
Yeah.
No, psych, joke's on me. I ended up being drugged and raped that night.
Oh, shit.
So, and I had done a shot of heroin right before that had happened. And so obviously I didn't report it because I'm like, I'm a fucking heroin junkie. You know what I mean? Like, ain't nobody, they're going to tell me it's my fault. And I firmly believed it was my fault. So that was the end of 2014. And I vowed to never do heroin or use a needle again after that. And so I cold turkeyed heroin on the streets, and I had someone else tell me that smoking meth helps
with the withdrawals. Yeah.
So I was like, anything to fucking not feel like, I mean, even just taking 10% of these withdrawals away, I can do this. You know what I mean? And so my first time smoking meth, it's the euphoria that I got is nothing I will ever be able to describe.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm fucking done. Like the devil has my soul now. You know what I mean? And I ended up living in trap houses. I ended up sleeping on park benches. I ended up, you know, like I mean, one thing I can say that I never did in my addiction was like turn tricks or sell myself for drugs. You know what I mean? And I ended up going on the run. I hadn't lost my son at the time.
From DCFS?
He was still in state's custody, but this was January of 2015, so it had only been like a month and a half that he'd been in state's custody.
Yeah.
And they give you a year to either make improvement or get your kid back before they go for like taking your rights.
Yeah.
So for the first little bit, I was doing all right, and then I quit going to court. I started getting paranoid, so I racked up all these warrants. You can't do your visits at DCFS with your kids because they are legally required to report you if you show up and they know you have warrants. So I quit showing up to my visits with my son. I think I was 90 pounds by this time. Like I was running amok.
Yeah.
Like it's so crazy to even try to explain how fast it happened. So July of 2015, I finally got arrested, and I had 11 warrants by the time I got arrested. Wow. 2 of them were felonies, the rest were misdemeanors, and then I caught a felony the day I got arrested. So I went to jail. I was in Weaver County till November, and then I got to go, till September, and then I got to do work release in Kiesel. So I did that, and November came, and it was time for me to face the music of DCFS and my son, you know. So I went to the courthouse, and I met with my caseworker, and I met with the family that had my son, and I decided at that point that you get sober and you feel so many different things at one time. You know what I mean? It's like life doesn't slow down at that point. Everything hits you at once.
Catches
you know?
up.
Yeah. And so I was like, do I even want to be sober? Do I want to deal with this? Do I want to feel these things? So I ended up deciding to sign my rights over to my oldest son. And that was the family that he was with at the time was like, they were meant to be his parents. Like within the first minute of talking to them, I knew they were meant. I will always be his mom, but they were meant to raise him. So he was 5 by this time. So December 3rd of 2015, I signed my rights over to my oldest son, which is not easy. I don't know if you guys know this, but you have to give a good enough reason to a judge for them to grant signing your rights over. Really? You have to make them understand why that is something you should be able to do. And that's the hardest thing I've ever had to do, to explain to a judge, like, this is why you should take my rights, you know? But I reflected on my childhood, and I didn't want my kid to have my childhood.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? My childhood was, my childhood was taken from me. I didn't want to do that to my son.
Yeah.
And so signed my rights over. I was sober at the time. I had been clean since I went to jail in July. I literally collapsed on the courthouse floor.
Just from all the emotions of
just having to stand up and explain why you should be able to do what you want to do with your rights to your child, you know. So that was December. Come February, his birthday's in February. It was February 14th. I relapsed, and I quit going to. I quit checking with AP&P. I quit doing Weber Human Services. I wasn't doing any of it, and I was up for like a week at a time, and I locked myself in this neighbor's bedroom, and I didn't want to do it, you know.
Yeah.
Losing a part of yourself. So I relapsed, and I will tell you, I did it from February till April of 2016.
Using again. Yeah.
And I would say in that 3 months. Or 2 and a half months, I probably did more than I did in the 7 months from January to July.
And that's crazy that you noticed that, because one of the things that I learned in rehab, one of the many times I went, was it's a progressive disease, meaning like if you're clean for so long and then you relapse, like, you know, just like you just explained, you will pick back up. And you'll be worse within like that first couple of days than you ever were prior to that.
Yeah. It's like you think you can pick up where you left off, but you can't, you know. But I just lost my son. I hadn't seen my youngest son in almost 2 years. By this time. I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I trying to do good, be better? So in April, so me and Kyle have different dads. My dad lives down south, and I ended up calling my sister, and I told her, look, I'm on a suicide mission. If you don't come and get me, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to live like this, but this is where I'm at. This is where I'm headed. So they came and got me like the next night, I think it was, and took me down there. And so that was the beginning of April probably. But April 15th, I ended up coming back down here with my stepbrother and getting high for an entire day. And he threw me out of his car on the side of the freeway without coming to a complete stop.
Oh, shit.
So that was a big eye-opener for me. Anyway, so that was April 15th. So I went home. April 16th was my first day. And that's where it started. That's where my recovery started. I obviously took some time to try to get it fully out of my system before I actually like sat down to try to process everything that I had been through just from January 2015 to April 2016.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like I lived like 6 lives in that short year. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So I did that. I tried doing the NA groups down there. NA's not for me. I kind of isolated. I just kind of stayed to myself, because when you get clean and you decide it's the life you want, it's so hard to trust people.
Yeah. It's
so hard to find friends that you know are going to be safe. It's hard to find friends that are going to feed your growth instead of take your success. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I isolated. I didn't have friends. I didn't know anybody down there. It's a small town, small town. So I stayed there for a few months, and then I ended up coming back to Ogden, because this is my home. I'll always find my way back here.
Yeah.
I stayed clean. Honestly, I'm not even sure exactly what I did in that short time, but I stayed clean. I had some toxic relationships in that short time. Well, I ended up moving to Logan, where my mom was. My mom was clean at the time. We were both on probation. I ended up moving to Logan, and I did counseling up there. That's probably the extent of what I did in my recovery, is counseling. And I struggled up there for like the first year. I worked a couple of different odd-end jobs, whatever, you know. And then I got a job at a 7-Eleven, and I found like my calling when it comes to work, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I stayed up there for 2 years. I worked at the same 7-Eleven while I was there. I finished counseling. I didn't do I was in the DORA program. It's so weird because I didn't ever have to do the MAT.
DORA?
Is it MAT? MAT training? Is that what it's
like
called?
the
Where you
MAT?
do? Yeah.
Yeah.
I started it and I think I did the first 2
Same.
sets and then they
Same.
were like, you don't have to do it. It's fine. You know what I mean? So it's the DORA program is what I did.
DORA. Sounds familiar.
I don't know I don't know what it stands for.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a long time, but it was, so when I went to jail, they had just passed this law or whatever where it was programs before prison. So if you've never,
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, if you've never been charged with drug charges, they were going to put you in a program before they sent you to prison. And I was like, fuck no, I want to go to prison.
Oh yeah, the DORA program was through the courts, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So
That's right.
I was like, I don't want to be under someone's thumb. I don't want to answer to nobody. I am I'm an adult. I want to answer to myself. So I was like, send me to prison. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, just get it over with.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, but they wouldn't, because I had all those charges, but I wasn't convicted of any of them because I went on the run. So I caught a second degree felony in September 2014. And then I caught third degree felony retail theft in that same year. And then I got a third degree felony possession charge when I got arrested in July. But none of them I had actually started to finish through the court process because I went on the run.
Yeah.
So I ended up in a program, and today I'm grateful for that. You know what I mean? Because if they had sent me to prison, where would I be today? You know, not that I even did much to. I did the counseling. I tried doing a trauma group, but I don't want to be in this box with all these people that have done these classes and expect to be doing it the same exact way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to be able to speak my feeling on how I feel, not how somebody else has decided the feeling should be.
Yeah.
So I didn't really fully finish it. So I came back to Ogden, and I got to the point, it was probably 3 years later, that I got to the point where I decided, am I going to use the same things that I used to get high to keep getting high, or am I going to use them as a reason to stay sober? You know what I mean? Because the choice is mine at the end of the day. Yeah. And so I stopped feeling sorry for myself. I still missed my kids, obviously, but I knew that they were living happy lives at this point. So my youngest son, I tried to get visitation. His dad made him forget who I was. So they said it would do more harm than good. So I ended up signing my rights over to my youngest son as well. And so I knew that they were good. I knew that I didn't have to be sad about it anymore because, I did what was best for them, not what was best for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Can we touch on that a little bit?
Yep.
Just overall how you deal with that, because I'm sure there's a lot of females that have gone through the same thing, going through the same thing, or, just in that same situation, but you seem to let it motivate you, I'd say, in a way, and not bring you down more in the depths of your addiction. Can you kind of just touch on that thought process? That mentality? Not even it's a mentality.
No,
and it's a strong one.
It is, and it is a thought process because it took steps to get there. So, I started by looking at my childhood. Yeah. I started by looking at what I went through. I think my mom started when I was in kindergarten. She would leave weeks at a time. We had no heat. We would eat canned corn. Kyle was injured multiple times and she wouldn't come home to take him to the hospital,
Kids raising kids.
Yeah, so pretty much. Our neighbor was more of a parent than our own mom was, you know, and so I had to process that, and I had to realize if I had gotten my son back and I didn't stay sober, would he be doing the same thing? Yeah. You know what I mean? So regardless of how much it hurt me, I had to remember that my son has a chance. He has played every sport under the sun. He just emailed me yesterday, actually, so it's perfect timing. So we've had my oldest, it's an open adoption. I've communicated with him the whole time. Nice. He knows who I am. He doesn't really remember this side of his family, but he's done so many great things, and it takes me back to that. So my childhood was this. Yeah. And would I be okay if my son had that same childhood? You know what I mean? Because by the time he was 4, he was put in state's custody twice. Yeah. There was this is a dark time in my life, but he was on the kitchen counter. I had just crushed up a pill and I was getting ready to snort it, and he smacked the powder, and I smacked him so hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I would let him sit in the bouncer and cry. Like, so he had already lived so much trauma in that short 4 years.
But that's so dope of you in those moments, like in the depth of your addiction and all that chaos that you're going through, to have enough awareness to be like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna get better, but at the same time, like, I don't want this for my son.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's huge. And that's
one thing that I always tell my mom, and Mom, if you see this, sorry, but this is real, is she taught me how not to be as a parent. That's probably the one good thing that my mom did teach me. And so that's why I was able, as hard as it was, listen, there were days that I cried in the fetal position for hours on end after signing my rights over to my eldest.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was not easy. It was dark. It was lonely. It was like the hardest thing I've ever been through in my entire life. It still is to this day. You know what I mean? But it's what was being in jail. I mean, for that short time, I had the clarity of being sober, and it was, at this point, it's not what's best for me anymore. No. It's not what's best for my feelings. It's not what's best for how my life, it's what was best for this child that didn't ask to be born into this life. You know what I mean? And I had to think about, like, do I want to live on welfare with a son, send him to school where he'd probably get bullied and picked on because he had a lazy eye, he wears glasses, he had to wear a patch? Do I want to, have to have hand-me-downs for clothes for him? Or do I want to give him to this family? They both have careers, the mom and the dad.
Yeah.
They've taken him on trips. He played t-ball. He played flag football. Do I want to take those opportunities from him and have him live like this? Or do I want to suffer so that he can have the opportunity of going to college?
Yeah.
He could have the opportunity of being able to, like, be in a home, the same home, and have a mom and dad that are there, have brothers and sisters that are there all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Being a parent, you sacrifice a lot, and you gave up the ultimate sacrifice in order to make sure that happened for your child.
And to this day, I would do it a million more times if it meant him having the life he has today. I would do it over and over. I would break my own heart a million times. And so that's what gets me through there. Now, I'll tell you, for the first few years, people used it as ammo against me.
Oh, I bet.
My family was like pros at saying, well, you're a piece of shit. You gave up on your kids. You turned your back on your kids. And every time it tore me down. And I would get to that point, like, what am I doing this for? I'm a piece of shit. I'm a lowlife. I didn't love my kids enough to fight for them, this, that, and the other. So the first 4 years was the roughest because I let those things get to me. But my first step was forgiving my mom for what I went through. I had to forgive her before I could forgive myself. And then I forgave myself. And so now when people tell me that, I'm like, especially my family, I'm like, that's cute. I love that you think that about me. But let me tell you everything that my son's done in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let me tell you the things he's gotten to experience, the things he's gotten to do, the grades he gets in school. Like he.
But what's just as cool is that's not how you feel about yourself.
Not anymore, no.
And that switch I feel is like so powerful, like just that mind switch for individuals like us that deal with addiction and mental health, and even like your upbringing, you didn't let that define you at all.
Yeah, no, and I struggle with mental health as well. Like, I was a self-harmer. I've been on, I was on medication throughout the whole time I was in foster care. Cutting was a way that I coped with life because physical pain's far better than emotional and mental pain. You know what I mean? But I haven't been like a self-harmer for probably 6 years now. But like, I also, like, now I am on an antidepressant because, but it took me years to tell myself, like, there's nothing wrong with that, because I tried driving my car into oncoming traffic one day. This was after I signed my rights over to my youngest. And I was like, I have to do something. like I have to, like I can't live like this. I need something to help me help myself.
Yeah.
So I did get put on an antidepressant. It was the lowest dose they could give me, and I do still take it. Because I do struggle with mental health.
Yeah.
I do, you know what I mean?
Yeah, been through a lot.
But it's my way, you know what I mean? Like I feel like
exactly
it still drives, it doesn't hold me back from being who I am, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And part of the reason why I wanted to do this podcast is because I wanted to tell all those moms out there, all those dads out there, like regardless of your outcome, it doesn't have to dictate how you guys choose to live your lives.
Yeah.
It does not have to. It doesn't have to drive the negativity. It doesn't happen overnight, but the choice to use it as positive in your life, it could happen, and you can do it. Anybody can do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
I crawled my way out of hell.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll have 10 years clean on April 16th.
That's
and
dope.
I didn't work no 12 steps. I go to the AA meetings every once in a while, but I always fill out a place because I never worked the steps. I've never done the program. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people feel like you have to do that, but like I'm here to tell you, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that.
I was looking forward to this interview because I'll have 4 years coming up in April or in March.
Yeah.
And I never worked a program either. And I just feel like it's really important to tell everyone's story, but like there's ways to do it, and you can build your own program to yourself. Like we know what not to do.
Right.
We know who not to hang around. We know like the very basics, but as far as like how you move forward past your addiction, like that's the great thing about it, about getting clean and turning your life around, is you can make it into whatever you want to make it.
Yeah, no, and you take things from other people's stories, but you leave things from other people's stories to implement into your day-to-day. I mean, there's so many people out there that I look up to that I'm like, you did this, and I think that that's amazing, you know, like I work my ass off, you know, but I make it. I've got a career now, you know what I mean? I've been with Maverick for almost 7 years.
Hell yeah.
It's possible. Anybody can do anything, and there's a story that I can tell you to prove that if you do good, like if you choose to use your I don't want to say failures in life, but your setbacks in life as stepping stones to move forward versus holding you back. June, Friday the 13th was in June, and it was the only Friday the 13th of this year. So we went to a haunted house. We do those every year. It was me, Kyle, and a couple of friends. I was currently married at the time. I am getting divorced now, but we were supposed to go to Fear Factory, but Kyle bought tickets to Nightmare on 13th for some reason. So that's where we ended up going. The day we went, he had a tattoo appointment that it was like a 7-hour long tattoo appointment. So we ended up leaving like 30 minutes late from here to go to Salt Lake. They were so packed and the parking lot was so full. We had to park 2 blocks away and walk to Nightmare on 13th. So we got there 20 minutes past our window that we picked when we bought the tickets. And we were like, can we still go? And they were like, yeah, it doesn't matter. You just have to go to the back of the line. So we're in line. There's our group, and then there's probably like 2 people, and then there's some kids right here. So Junior, my soon-to-be ex-husband, is pacing back and forth. He doesn't do big crowds. He doesn't sit still. So he was walking back and forth, and he's seen this kid, and he was like, man, that kid looks familiar. And he kept walking, and he heard this kid talk, and he's like, oh, that's him. So he came up to me, and he goes, I think that's your son right there. And I was like, there's no fucking way. It's 9 o'clock on a Friday night. This dude's baptized, and he's hugging on some girl. They're kissing. There's no fucking way. You know what I mean? And I'm staring at this kid. Full on staring at this kid, okay? And I tap Kyle, and I'm like, Kyle. He's like, what? And I'm like, I think that's Isaiah. And he's like, no fucking. Both of us were like, there's no fucking way. So my Nell lady, her name's Brecklin, she was there, and she's like, you want me to go ask him? And I was like, fucking kind of, you know. So she walks up and she taps the girl on the arm that this kid's hugging on, and she asked her, she's like, hey, sorry to bother you, but is his name Isaiah? And she's like, yeah, it is. So she turned and she smiled from ear to ear. And I was like, my heart fucking sunk. So literally in a world that's like, how many people live in Utah? And this place was like so packed. We had to park 2 blocks away. We were 20 minutes late. We had to go to the back of the line. And my son ends up being 3 people in front of us in line. Like,
that is awesome.
Is that so crazy? You know what I mean? So like, and I like, so I introduced myself to him, told him who I was. We hugged, you know, it was just so
Did he
sweet.
recognize you at all? No.
No, he was 4 last time he seen me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Actually, it was his 5th birthday. That was the last time he seen me. So, and it doesn't hurt my feelings. You know what I mean? Because like I've changed over the years. He's grown over the years, obviously. You know.
Yeah.
So it didn't bother me not one bit that he didn't know who I was, and I was like, I'm your mom, and he's like, wait, for real? And I was like, I'm your mom, and he's like, oh my god, and he hugged me. I cried. He cried. We hugged for a minute. We talked for a second. Then I let him go back to do his thing. He's there with friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But thinking at that night on the way home from that ride, like, where would I have been if I didn't choose to stay sober?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So like all these years of the sadness and the missing parts of me, because I don't have my kids, all these years of, you know, I can't say that I don't wonder what if, you know what I mean? Because I feel like that's a natural part of human life. Is you're going to always wonder what if, you know, or could I have done better? Could I have gotten clean, or would I have stayed clean, you know? But to be able to be present in that moment, at that spot, at that time, was just, it was not only like the universe working in my favor, but it was just the universe reminding me that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And I'm sure, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm sure in that moment, like, everything up to that point kind of went away, a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and
there was no sadness. There was no weight. There was no heaviness. There was no, like, in that moment, I was like, oh my God, it's been 10 years. It was 10 and a half years since I'd seen my son in person. Wow. I've only gotten pictures of him and communicated with him over email. I've never talked to him. So 10 years. Yeah. And I was just like, the happiness that came over me that day.
I bet.
And just seeing him. And it just reminded me that what I did was right. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Just living life like
anybody can do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's easier said than done. I shouldn't say it like that, because most people are going to say they can't do it, but they can.
Well, anyone can do it, but it comes down to how bad do you want to do it?
Right. Your dedication is bottom line.
Yeah. And once you reach a certain point, like, and you decide like, hey, I'm done. Like, it almost comes natural. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and there's not without the courts on you, like, I mean, everyone's situation is different, but like when the courts are on me, like, I had a hard time just doing what they wanted, following probation and parole, and always going back to prison. That never worked, you know. And 4 years ago, coming out of relapse, I was just like, man, I can't do this anymore.
Right. I had to put all those people as background noise for myself, like the APP and the therapist, and they were just like background noise at that point in my life. I was like, either they're going to be front and center and I'm going to look at it as like they're dictating my life, or they're going to be sitting back seat, just kind of giving me guidance. And I'm going to take control of my life. You know what I mean? Like, because when you get sober, nobody knows what the hell they're doing. You know what I mean? You have to be able to rely on someone for some direction or for some guidance, you know? And I'll tell you what, man, this year has tested my recovery more than any year in the last 10 years. Oh man, my best friend died in March.
Sorry.
She was diabetic and she was smoking meth, and it sent her into ketoacidosis and it killed her. So that was March 13th. And she was a huge part of my life up in Logan. We met over her wallet being a Broncos wallet. That's how we met. And we literally were inseparable after that. She came in for packed cigarettes. I got her a job. We started working together. She was a recovering addict, so she kind of knew that life. She lost her kids. She understood that aspect. Yeah. So we were road dogs. We were homies. I've never met anybody like her, and I don't think I ever will. So when she died, I thought I've experienced death in my life, but when she died, I experienced it in a way that I had hoped I'd never go through again. It was a sadness that I just can't explain. Fast forward to August 17th, my sister passed away. And she was our mom, because she was the oldest. Yeah. You know what I mean? So when my mom started doing her stupid shit, my sister stepped in and was the mom and would help take care of us and try to feed us, and you know what I mean? So she
actually knew her too.
Yes.
Yeah, so she was cool.
Yeah, she was a beautiful soul, man. Yeah. She was more than just a sister. She was a mom. She was a guidance. She was everything. And she took me in back in, I want to say, so it was probably like 6 years ago. They let me move in with them, her and her husband. I lived in their basement. So fun. Her recovery day was April 1st. Fool's Day, that was her favorite thing to tell people. And then mine was the 16th. So we were literally like 2 weeks apart from each other. Same amount of time, same amount of clean time. We did a sober photo shoot together at our 4 years. Memories I'll cherish forever. But she raised me into recovery. She taught me a lot. She taught me, all the things that she went and got in the 5 years that she was clean. Well, it was probably like 4.5 years that she was clean before she relapsed. But so she was more than just my sister. And so like I'm at a point right now where I'm not only grieving my sister, but like I feel like one day I'm grieving her, but then one day I'm grieving my mom. All these things happen and I want to call my sister, you know what I mean? This person's a douchebag and I need to yell about it. I want to call, because she understands me, you know what I mean? She understood me different than other people understand me. And I don't know how to explain what that's been like. I definitely sit in my feelings. I don't try to run from them. I don't try to cover them. I don't try to tell myself, no, you're not sad, you're happy, because I feel like you have to feel the emotions.
Definitely.
So, and now my divorce, so that's happening. That's all been this year. So it's been a rough year, but
you're getting through it.
I am getting through it.
That's the thing, like, and that's growth. Like being able to, like you just said, sit in your feelings and not feel sorry for yourself, but like sit in your feelings, assess it, and just learn how to move on. Like it's so dope.
So I fucked up the day she died, and I decided I wanted to see her before they put her in the body bag. So I seen her body, and when I hugged her, I've always been told that one of the last things to go when you die is your hearing. I told her she had rapidly progressing scoliosis. So the last 2 years of her life was hell for her. Her body was it was giving up. So I told her she was free from her pain, but I promised her that on the days that I couldn't do this for myself, I would do it for her. And that's how I'm with my kids. The days that I don't feel like I'm good enough to keep going, I do it for them. You know what I mean? Because this is the life my sister prayed for every day. This is the life my sister wanted. And so if there's a day that it's harder for me to do for me, because obviously doing something for yourself is probably the hardest thing to do. To congratulate yourself and talk nice to yourself and to give yourself the good talks, you know what I mean? That's so hard. And so on the days that I can tell myself I'm a badass and I'm doing big things, I talk to my sister and I tell my sister, like, this is for you. I did today for you. I stayed sober today for you, you know? And so, like I said, the things that I could use to go back out, I flip the thinking and I use it as the reason to stay sober and to stay here. You know? Yeah,
that's so huge. And it's crazy when that happens to you, right? Like that mindset switches and you no longer use things as an excuse to go get high, or I don't want to feel this way anymore, so I'm going to go get numb. You only know if you know, like, and that mind switch is just, it's crazy because before we used to use that to go get everything we wanted, go numb up as much as possible, and now it's raw and it's pure and it's all these emotions and feelings, but at the end of the day, we can look at ourselves and be like, I got through today, like, I did that shit.
There's some days where I take it minute by minute. I can't even do a day at a time, you know? I'm grateful for my work family. I'm super close with in fact, my boss knew my sister very well. They were really close at one point in time. And so I have a huge support when it comes to work. And so on the days that I'm vulnerable or on the days that I am overwhelmed and I need to I end up lashing out on them, but they've grown to know me and understand me to a point that they let me do it because they know that it's not, I'm angry, but I'm not angry at them. It's something that I need to let go. You know what I mean? And that's the only way sometimes to let go.
I do that shit with my kids and my girl at home. Like I'll be in my moods and it's like almost like the universe speaks to them, because then like my son will come up out of nowhere and just like tell me something really nice, or my girl will just come give me a hug. You know what I mean? And when that happens, I'd like tell myself, all right, like it's not anyone else's fault but
Right.
yours. Like you're choosing to feel bad about, feel self-pity right now.
Yeah.
And so to be able to like notice things like that and like you're explaining and have that awareness is so huge, man. Like
Yeah.
it's so huge in just overall becoming a better person compared to the life we used to live.
Yeah. It is. It's not easy, but anything that's worth having isn't easy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but it's worth it.
Yeah. You gotta sweat a little to get the life you want.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta be willing to put in the work.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be with a 12-step program. It doesn't have to be with any of that. Like I just, one of the reasons why I'm getting divorced is because I feel like he's stuck in this I can't box, and I was stuck in it with him for so long, but I don't want to be there anymore.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to put yourself in the box of other recovering addicts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to, like they say 12 steps, that's the only way you can do it. And you have to go to meetings every weekend. You know what I mean? Like don't put yourself in that box.
Yeah.
Make your own fucking box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Invite your friends to your box.
Yeah.
Show them that if they don't do 12 steps, you're still going to love them the same.
Yeah. And
You know
you
what I
can
mean?
still be just as happy.
Yeah, I'm proof.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm proof of that.
100%.
I guess you're proof of that too.
Yeah. You know, and that's kind of what this podcast is built, you know, foundation.
Yeah, I love what you're doing.
Is just showing different perspectives, because we all go through different traumas, right? And
Yeah.
we all have a different upbringing. Like
Yeah.
I had a completely opposite upbringing of you and your siblings, but somehow we still ended up on the same path.
Right.
You know, so learning to just work on our traumas that are brought onto us, but also like this recovery thing and being a drug addict, being a junkie, being a tweaker, alcoholics, like it doesn't matter, because we all have it in us to go out and do these self-destructive things. We all have it in us to do it in a way that best fits us and not feel all the pressure of doing this step, or
Right.
I can't go make amends with this person yet because whatever it may be. Like
Right.
all that stuff can come at you, but as long as you're taking care of you and you're handling your business to what helps you, like that's all that matters. And you turned your life around. Like who can say anything?
Right. Well, and I think that a big part of it too is being able to filter the things, because you have to decide what's worth your time and your energy and your effort and what's not, because not everything that you deal with or you go through or that's put on your shoulders is even worth your time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just barely started mastering that probably last year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But you have to be able to filter everything that gets brought up in your life when you're sober, when you're using, and you have to decide what is worth my energy. Is this problem, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
what's important to me.
if you try to give your energy to everything that comes up in your life, you're never going to make it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're going to wear yourself out.
Yeah, and
You're
I'm
going to
learning
need
that
that
right
high
now
just
too.
to stay awake.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you have to be able to filter in a healthy way to decide, you know, and you could decide that everything deserves your time and your effort, but you need to put it in order. You got to do
Prioritize it.
priorities and
Yep.
do one thing at a time, because if you do overwhelming yourself, it's just no good.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
So that filter is important as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet, man. This was good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I got quite the story. That's just a snippet of it, you know?
Do you have anything else you'd like to touch on?
No, I think I just want to make sure that everybody knows that they can do this, regardless of their past, their upbringing, their current situation. This life is capable for everybody. Anybody could have this life. You just have to decide what to use your
energy on.
situations for. You know, it's either going to be for good or it's going to be for bad.
Yeah.
You know, but this life is possible for anybody out there.
Yeah. Well, we thank you very much for coming on here and sharing some of your story.
Of course.
If you guys would like to show some support to the show, you can go to evolveandprosperapparel.com and check out the t-shirts we have available. And you can follow us on all social media platforms, and make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel here. And until next time.